In the month of June 2014, Mr. and Mrs. Brodus and their 3 young children were getting ready to move into their new luxury apartment, which they bought for $1.3 million in one of the most safest cities in the United States of America. While they were about moving into this apartment, they received a very creepy and mysterious letter, which upon opening this letter, the content of this letter will make them forfeit their $1.3 million home without looking back at it. Due to the viral and captivating nature of this particular story, Netflix made a show based on these creepy letters titled The Watcher. In the month of June 2014, the Brodus family purchased the $1.3 million home, which according to them was their dream home because they have been saving up a long time ago to get this particular building, which was a 6-bedroom luxury apartment located at Boulevard, New Jersey. It was a neighborhood for the elite, so they were actually in a very high spirit to relocate to their new home as soon as possible. A few days after Derek Brodus and his wife Maria had sealed the deal by making the necessary payments and signing all the documents necessary for a valid transfer of ownership. At this point, they were having this sense of fulfillment. It was not just a mere purchase for them, it was a lifetime achievement. They began preparations to move into their new exotic home, while Maria was packing up their properties from the home they were about to vacate from, which they had already sold to a new family. But at this time, the family were not ready to move in. While Derek, on the other hand, had gone to the new apartment to make some renovations, like painting the walls, fixing worn-out fixtures, and generally making adjustments to fit their lifestyle. When he was almost done for the day, he just had this casual thought that he should go check the mailbox. Since it was a new home, he wasn't expecting anything. He just wanted to have the feeling of being a homeowner. As he walked to the place where it was, and he opened the lock, to his greatest surprise, there was a letter in the mailbox. It was boldly written on the small card-like envelope, "The new owner," in big clunky handwriting. As he opened the envelope, the content was typed and it read,
"Dearest new neighbor at 657 Boulevard, allow me to welcome you to the neighborhood. How did you end up here? Did 657 Boulevard call to you with its forces within? 657 Boulevard has been the subject of my family for decades. Now as it approaches its 110th birthday, I have been put in charge of watching and waiting for its second coming. My grandfather worked the house in the 1920s, and my father worked it in the 1960s. It is now my time. Do you know the history of the house? Do you know what lies within the walls of 657 Boulevard? Why are you here? I will find out."
The letter went further to mention some things a stranger won't naturally know about the family, like you have children, I have seen them. And the letter went on, "So far I know there are just 3 children I have counted. Once I know their names, I will call them and draw them to me." He also talked about their car, a Honda minivan, and the number of laborers and contractors renovating the home. Right at the bottom of the letter, the mystery writer used a cursive font to sign his name, The Watcher. After reading this letter, Derek started trembling and he had this cold shock running right through his spine. It was obvious that whoever the author of this letter might be, he had almost every detail concerning their lives from the activities they carry out on a daily basis, and he could attack at any point in time. Immediately after reading this letter, he dismissed the workers for the day, shut the doors, locked all the windows, and went straight to his house to meet his wife and children. As he showed them the letter, instantly his wife advised they call the police. As the police showed up, they gave them the letter to read. And as the police reading through this letter, they were marveled and they asked the family if they had any enemy in the neighborhood who might have sent this letter. But it was obvious they haven't really have a one-on-one conversation with anybody in the neighborhood that lasted more than 10 minutes. And the police said, "Hey, we don't think there's anything serious here. It might be someone playing around. There's no return address on the letter." So nobody knows whom or where it was coming from. But Derek and Maria were not settled at all. At this point, they felt it was not just a threat to them, but also to their children. So they decided to send the mail to the family that sold the house to them. That is the Woods family whom were previously living in the apartment. In the letter, they told the Woods family that they received a strange life-threatening letter from someone claiming to be a watcher, and the Brothers family asked if the Woods family experienced anything of such manner all through their stay in the house. The Woods family in their reply stated that through their 23 years of living in 657 Boulevard, they never received anything of such, except once, a few days before they moved out of the house, they received a letter from a mystery writer, and the writer was only appreciating them for taking good care of the house all through their stay. The Woods family also stated they have never felt watched in the last 2 decades they lived in the house, and they rarely felt the need to lock their doors at night. While they thought the note they received was odd, they threw it away without much concern. Afterwards, Derek cancelled the initial plans of packing into the house for the fear of the watcher. They just went on to make more renovations, so they go to the apartment on a daily basis with their 3 kids to supervise the workers and contractors making the renovations, and when they were done for the day, they would go back to the apartment they were living. 2 weeks after they received the first mail, Maria stopped by at the house to check out some paint samples. As well, check the mailbox, because ever since they received the first letter, every time she goes to the house, she always checks the mailbox to know if there is a new letter. Upon opening the box, lo and behold, she saw a thick black lettering on the card-shaped envelope. It was exactly the same as the first one. She called the police immediately and waited till they came before opening the letter. And it read,
"Welcome to your new home at 657 Boulevard. The workers have been busy and they have been watching you unfold carfuls of your personal belongings. The dumpster is a nice touch. Have they found what is in the walls yet? In time they will."
The watcher had mentioned the real names, nicknames, and birth order of the children. He went further to boast of having learned a lot about the family in the preceding weeks, especially about the children. At this point, it was very obvious that the watcher was someone around them, probably in their vicinity, because those nicknames were only known by Derek and Maria. Probably while they were in the apartment supervising the renovations, Maria might have yelled at the children, using their nicknames to caution them while they were playing around. The watcher in the second letter went further to say,
"Have you found all the secrets it holds yet? Will the young blood sleep in the basement, or they are too afraid to go down there alone? I would be very afraid if I were them. It is far away from the rest of the house. If you were upstairs, you would never hear them scream."
As the letter continued, it got more creepy and mysterious when the watcher said,
"Will they sleep at the attic, or will you all sleep on the second floor? Who has the bedrooms facing the street? I will know as soon as you move in. It will help me to know who is in which bedroom. Then I can plan better."
This further shows that the watcher was having a close watch at them. This made Derek and Maria panic so much, which left them devastated, and at the same time anxious to go extra mile in order to reveal whoever the watcher was. At this point, as the police realized that the case was much more serious than they thought, launched an investigation. In the course of investigation, they started from the neighborhood. The first suspect was a man in his 60s who lived with his old mom in her 90s. He was known to have been behaving very odd and exhibiting some weird behaviors in the neighborhood, which were quite questionable. Sometimes he might just stand outside and stare through the windows of residents in the neighborhood at night and walk through their houses for no proper reason. He was behaving totally strange. When the police questioned him about the case, he said he had no idea of what they were talking about. Since the police had no evidence against him, they had to let him go. Subsequently, they conducted a DNA testing on the fingerprints they got on the letter, and they realized it was a woman's DNA, which meant the man in his 60s was obviously not a suspect in the case. But later on, they discovered he had a sister too, so they got a water bottle that she had used. They conducted a DNA test and it wasn't a match with the one on the letter. So she was ruled out of the case, leaving the police with no suspect at all. Derek at this point had already lost his school from all these troubles and futile efforts. So he decided to start up his own investigation. He started by fixing cameras all over the house. Literally every angle of the house had the camera. So he stayed in the apartment all day, peeping through the window and looking straight at the mailbox, but nobody came around. He went on to hire 2 former FBI agents to launch a private investigation. But all this never brought any substantial information or profile as to the identity of the watcher. It all went down the drain. Months went by and the brothers did not pack into their new apartment. Rumors began spreading quite fast that the house was a haunted house. That was why they never occupied it. So at some point, tired of all the troubles that came with the house, they decided to put it up for sale to see how much they could get back, because they had already spent $100,000 on the renovation, in addition to the $1.3 million they used in purchasing the house, but no offers came in with regards to purchase of the apartment, so they decided to put it up for rent with the clause that if the new occupants experienced any trace of the watcher stalking, they had an option to quit the tenancy agreement and ask for a refund. So family decided to give it a trial. Just 2 weeks into the tenancy, guess what? Another letter came in from the watcher. This time it said,
"You wonder who the watcher is? Turn around, you idiots. Maybe you even spoke to me, one of the so-called neighbors, who has no idea who the watcher could be. Or maybe you do know and you are too scared to tell anyone. Good move."
But the new occupants just asked Derek to install more cameras because they knew what they were in for before they accepted the tenancy. Again, Derek and Maria took the letter straight to the police with the hope that this time they could get some trails of the watcher from it. But like the others, there was nothing to hold on to. The watcher was still on the loose. In the year 2019, they sold the house at a loss price of $400,000 as opposed to the $1.3 million they used in buying the house. This time it was more like, let's get rid of the house and move on. It has already taken too much of our fortune, so they sold it out. Soon after selling the house, another letter came in from the watcher.
"You are despised by the house and the watcher won."
Up until this day, the case is still a mystery because no one has known the watcher's identity or have a tangible evidence to pin it on any suspect, so it remained an unsolved mystery. Thanks for watching this video. Kindly give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel. You can also follow us on Facebook, where you post not just videos but short true crime stories, and on TikTok at darktimes_1.